Change will come to those who have no fear.
Hello, I am Peyton Guthrie, and welcome to the show. Today I have with me Nick Growall, and we'll be talking about True Detective, Season 2, Episode 1. I know we're talking about Season 2. Some people have been kind of wishy-washy on it, but we're going to talk about it because we like True Detective. Nick, try to tell me how you feel about how it's going so far and how it's comparing to the high standard that Season 1 set.
I enjoyed the first episode very much. In the first episode of Season 1, you had more of a build-up to the two characters. Right off the bat, you found the body, and we knew what this main overarching story was going to be about this murder that would happen. In this series, they jumped in, they said, no, we're going to introduce you to everybody and give you an idea of who they are, and then bring you in to what's actually going to be the catalyst for them coming together. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I really enjoyed that they kind of flipped it on us in this season.
Yeah, Season 1 had the ability to, 1, it's a flashback, 2, narrators, and then 3, like you said, it's all about the action and not really about the characters until later on. Yeah. And then I think that's when Season 1 kind of stumbled once they had to find out the plot's finished, the action has halted, how are we going to tie this all together? And it ended with one of the worst season-ending episodes of a great TV show I've ever seen. But my thoughts on Episode 1 is static. This is what a TV show is. I don't think people will love this series as much as the other one, because McConaughey is a very beautiful character and speaking this very eloquent language and stuff. And what we have compared to that is Colin Farrell basically being an ugly, dirty pet rock, whose only thing is this blunt action force. Mm-hmm. He's not going to give you a soliloquy about the end of times.
And that's the thing. I think people were looking at it when they first went in going, who's the McConaughey character? Who's the one that's going to be sitting there thinking about what he's going to do? But and entering soliloquy after soliloquy, and I think that's might have what put people off initially, because each of them are flawed, whereas you had, when you start Season 1, it's McConaughey's the very out there character, and then Woody is the one who's very straight-laced. But as the season goes on, you realize that they're more on even ground than you realize in terms of just their darker past and what goes on with them.
Yeah, and speaking of Woody, was the eye of the viewer, so to speak, because he could sit back and go, Rust, you're insane, and kind of cut the tension that way. So far in this one, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a character who's going to be allowed to cut that tension.
The closest thing we have to someone who's a little straight-laced is actually Rachel McAdams' character, but she has things we haven't dove into yet. It's kind of like Woody, where it's like, okay, we've referenced it, her whole... When we first meet her, she's walking out of the bedroom because apparently some sexual act she wanted to do with her friend with benefit, I'm assuming, was a little too far. And so we're like, okay, and there's a lot of different themes of sex going on throughout the entire episode. When they investigate Casper's home estate, it's all the paintings and stuff and all the
giant dildos, just massive, terrifying.
And even Taylor Kitsch's character, who his first thing is also a sexual encounter with the celebrity. So,
but as I was rewatching it for this, you realize he's off his beat, and it was a lie, because you see him later on. He's having to take Viagra and wait 30 minutes to get hard. How is he getting a blowjob from a celebrity in that?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So there's more to that story, obviously. There's more to all of their stories, obviously. How do we feel about, like I said, everyone's trying to find who is the new Rust Cohle. Yeah. How do we feel about, how do you say his name? Verico? Colin's character.
Ray.
Yeah.
I really like it's not McConaughey at all. It's very different. Like you said, he's more blunt. He's a force. He just he sees its target and he kind of goes at it. Whether it's, Vince Vaughn saying, this is the guy who raped your wife, or I need you to go take out this journalist. Like, he gets into the mode and he just goes and he does it. He doesn't sit around. He doesn't monologue, like you said. He's a drinking, walking, fighting animal in a sense.
How do we feel about it moving forward? The director of Season 1 is not the director of Season 2. It's been shifted over to the writer, guy who wrote season 2, but he's now doing also the visual stuff. He writes a lot of crime fiction, LA noir stuff. I think it feels more like a writer show so far. You're having people talk and cameras on them talking. And season 2 was a lot of sweeping shots with voices over
very
that.
visual. And then that was the thing I think a lot of people were looking forward to in this season, when they didn't realize that essentially they've just shuffled the deck and said, we're starting new deck, new players, everything's new except for the main showrunner, basically. And so I think that the look and feel of it's going to be very different for people. And I think that's probably what has set off a lot of people in going, no, this isn't the same. It's like, but I think when it's an anthology series and you're going in saying, here's 4 new characters, it has nothing to do, we're not even in the same town now. And we've yet to see any connection, and I doubt we'll see anything, if only like a loose reference here or there, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to, I look at it almost as 2 different movies, really.
Yeah.
I just see them as 2 different stories completely. And I think people just have that issue because they're used to Game of Thrones and stuff like, well, what happens next? Well, what happens next? What happens next? And I just don't think it's connecting quite as much with them.
So it seems like while season 1 had some built-in advantages, only 2 people to worry about, this one is much more sprawling, much more story points to connect. I think it will end up being a better show.
Yeah.
I think because of that, it will have different stories to tell, and it will be able to give us better closure at the end.
And people are better trained now to
what True Detective is.
Yeah, with what True Detective, but also to deal with shows that follow different plot lines. I mean, a show like Game of Thrones that how many characters does it jump back and forth through within an hour? I mean, you might not have been able to do that maybe 10 years ago. People would have been like, oh, I can't do this. There's just too much going on. And now they're like, yes, feed me as much as you can. And they complain they don't get enough.
But with Game of Thrones, we have 50 hours of TV so far.
Right.
This one's only going to have 8. So you're going to have to tell some stories, but you have 8 hours.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. How about you?
Too, definitely, yes.
Right.
I will definitely be watching Sunday. So.
Well, that's us. Stay tuned for our recap of Season 2, Episode 2, which will be next week. Hope you enjoyed it. Until then.
Thing worth fighting for.